Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's talk or meditation, and particularly sickness into path to enlightenment. I think it's a very beautiful topic. I think, therefore, everyone need to know this because everyone, sick, once in a while. Sometimes, we have body. That means its body is very vulnerable, and and also have many different kind obstacles and can create sickness. Therefore, all beings they have sickness, some degree. Some people have large degree sickness. The other people have ill. Once in a while, we have cold, flu, or many different things. Especially right now, the coronavirus going around the world. So many people are sick. But when you're sick, how do you take the sickness to path to enlightenment? I want to talk about Longchenpa's perspective. What Longchenpa to say something about this experience. When people are ill and people have physically, tired or like mentally exhausted or anything, sickness, like people flu or like sometimes people have cancer, terminal illness. It's very many years they can stay with that, go to stay in hospitals and hospices, like people, stay home so many years. They can face that kind of challenges. And then how do you do that? And even you have cold, like few days cold, or when there's birth, there's old age, you know how to deal, and then also there's sickness, and everyone fakes sickness someone another time. And then I think today my topic is how to address these kind of challenges, experiences we are facing every day, or sometimes, or like sometimes people have that kind of obstacles everyday life, or like many people have difficult conditions. And I like today Longchenpa's teachings. This comes from Longchenpa is somewhere in the meditation state, meditation retreat. He's sick. When he's sick, then ask his students, you need medicine, you need to have doctor, they ask many questions. And then song Longchenpa wrote, there's two different songs. But the first one, is I didn't have chance to translate, but the second one I translate. Very beautiful text. After my talks, we can read, Karen can read Longchenpa's real wisdom, like read what he says, read how to deal with sickness. First, I can explain the meaning of that a little bit more. We can explore that Longchenpa's how dress in sickness, illness, and challenges. And then he told his students how to, sickness bring into path to enlightenment. That's his very subject is. Like meditation practitioners, especially, meditation practitioners and Dharma practitioners, spiritual practitioners, when they're sick, then how do they perceive that? What kind of attitude you should have? And what kind of perspectives you should have, that time? And that's really the dress. But anybody can do that. Anybody has the right perspective. But I think especially the meditator practitioners is what's the right perspective when you're sick? How do you perceive your sickness? Some people, the sickness perceived with fear and unhappiness, disappointment, like also blame yourself and, blame others. and we're angry, or sometimes we are fearful, sometimes we are disappointed, sometimes we are depressed. That's not a way is to dress in sickness. Longchenpa is, this dress is when you sick, how to really, the best perspective you should have. I think perspective, you have the right perspective, and the sickness become more light, more gentle, more not heavy. And the Longchenpa is the, right perspective. You're sick, same time you have practiced meditation, or have the right perspective, reduce your pain of sickness, mentally, spiritually, and like that, and also have good attitude, and you're a little bit more how do you say, this is a uplifting, not always just go down, uplifting experience, and that's really everything's dressing here, and I think this is most meditators have that kind of perspective, meditators, not just only meditators, I think everyone should have these perspectives. It's very important. I think the Longchenpa is, first he's talk about, this song begins, his respect, deeply respect, admiration, and great sublime masters, who gave these kind of teachings. Period Dzogchen masters, his respect here, just respect, admiration, the great enlightened masters. That begins his song. That's really begins song. And he says, when you're sick, he says, first line, he says, I go through, slowly, but I don't, I cannot cover everything because there's not much time, but I go to points, right points, very much essential points I want to address here. He says, sickness will lead you to spiritual path. Now, what we do is, one way you think of it this way, when you're sick, the right attitude is, you need a, path to enlightenment. You need to have what's enlightenment? Enlightenment is, there's no sickness, there's no suffering, there's no unhappiness, there's no misery, and the misery of enlightenment. And then when you're sick, reminds you path to enlightenment. That's called right perspective. Not reminding something angry or something depressed, but reminds you, oh, I need liberating myself. I need free myself, this ordinary body. It reminds you that. That's called right perspective. This is that if someone really know meditation of Dharma, they have that kind of perspective, immediately pop up their mind. I don't pursue enlightenment. Life is, difficult. Now I'm sick. This is my life. I can't believe. I need reach free from suffering. And that's really automatically course Longchenpa says. That's the very first step. He says, you need to apply meditation both to good times and bad times. Meditation is not just only when you have healthy body, you're walking, everything. But meditation, the most you need is when you have difficult time, challenging, and depressed, and angry. That time you need the most meditation. And he says, when you're sick, then you need to have apply meditation. And then he's talked about many different ways apply your meditation, sickness, and when you're ill. He says, please listen. I will clearly give you our instructions. That's Longchenpa says. Okay. I just follow Longchenpa's teachings here. That's really, it's not my words, Longchenpa's words. Longchenpa's words are very inspired. It's very extraordinary words. It's not come from ordinary mind, it's come from enlightened mind. He says, this is true. Someone meditator practitioners or general, he said, sickness lose one's obsession of ordinary life. Longchenpa says, if you're sick, then you're not obsessed with the, like so much obsessed this world. Like obsession this world is consequences. Most people are not happy, so much stress, so much difficult, so much hopes and fears that really are the obsession this world. But not obsessed in this world is make your life peace here. When you're sick, you're not obsessed. You don't have time to obsess the world, Longchenpa says. Therefore, and then other when we take away, what's really sickness can you take? What's you're not obsessed in the world, a mundane world. And that really means people don't have time to obsess, attach, world politics, or world, confused. They don't participate in when you're sick. And that's the Longchenpa says like that. And he says, sickness, reminds you impermanent death. That's another Longchenpa says. When you're sick, ill, he says, that's remind, oh, wow, I'm sick, no one else when I die. And then that really means, reminds impermanent death, that means you are become more right perspective. And that really means you are not ego, you're not stuck with egos, you're not stuck with negative emotions. When I think most people are healthy, everything's doing good, then ego is very active that moment. Also, negative emotions are very active. People are healthy, people are doing well, and then ego is so fully control everything, and also the impulses and emotions are very out of control, yeah. Like anger, resentment, people are like just always reacting. That sometimes that sign means they're very healthy, they're doing good, yeah. But when you're sick, Longchenpa says, reminds you everything's impermanent. That means there's no egos not active, and the negative emotions, impulses are not active. That means, I think when you remember impermanent death and think you get along other people, you become more compassionate. You see the big picture. Therefore, that's really you can think that way. And then sickness is, that means path to enlightenment. No, I want to do something very meaningful, something very long-lasting. Yeah, and they have that kind of perspective comes. And then the Longchenpa says, here is and sickness also have created devotion, inspiration toward enlightenment. That's very beautiful. When you're sick, what happens is, only people need to have solution, something very solution, something antidote. But that means you have devotion, means something, enlightenment or something extraordinary. You reading biographies, enlightened beings, you masters, there's inspiration about that, and also devotion and also gratitude inspires. When you're sick, not just only sit there, but you need to try to do, there's inspiration, reading biographies, something makes you feel, like positive. You need to do that. And that really means, many people are sick, then they also have their egos no longer present. It's easy to have, like admiration, gratitude, devotion, inspiration, like these things easy to for that time. I think you've been there many times. I was been there many times. For me, is like when I'm sick, then I think the only make me strength is Dharma teachings and enlightenment it gave me strength. Yeah. And every other thing is don't have any, there's not much strength when I was sick, especially very sick. And then that really means, and then your strength come from something, inspiration to enlightenment or like that. I think that comes, someone's familiar of the Dharma or meditation, they can automatically have that kind of attitude. And then you need to do that because other than that, the world is, sick people's world is very, difficult. There was something make their life more meaningful, means something positive, extraordinary, this kind of attitudes. Therefore, I think naturally, some people naturally have devotion, inspiration, enlightenment, when they're sick. But others, they need to learn that. If you don't have that, you need to learn that. How do you can inspire to reach enlightenment? When you enlightenment, they don't have this body-mind pain. Enlightenment is free about body-mind, pain of this. All pains, cease. They're called nirvana. Nirvana. You need the nirvana happiness when you're, therefore you inspire that. When you're thirsty, you think water, yeah. Oh, I can't believe I need to delay, sometimes people talk how much, when they're thirsty, they talk of water. When I was, remember when I was Eastern Tibet into, Western Lhasa, many hours driving bus, people are hungry, and people start talk about food. Then just I remember people talk, they went to best restaurant, they went to this restaurant, there's no food, but people talking the food. I remember that. Similarly, when you're mentally, emotionally pain, you are, talking more interesting about free from suffering state, enlightenment. And that's it. That's really gave you more release and also inspiration. I think that's really I think Longchenpa says very important. They have that kind of attitude. And then there says, Longchenpa, the other says, and also sickness also reminds you generosity. When you're sick, you see other people's pain, yeah. Some people have they don't have many things, they're devastated, they're poor, they go through so many things. And then you are pain, you feel other people's pain, and you become more generous. That's another, and I think most people do that. They're generous, like other people. And then also you learn that also. Generous means like good to others. That's all generous. You don't need to always give something. Of course, giving others is the best, but you good to your family, and you good to your friends, you good to your husband, you're good to your wife, and you good to everyone. That's when you're sick, then real how other people feels, and then that creates generosity. Not like when you're sick, mean to everyone, difficult, everyone become complicated. That's not the best way to do. But when you're sick, you just good to everyone and just you feel not just when you're pain, you feel other people's pain too. They go through many different, and then Longchenpa says, when you're sick, create generosity for the others. And then Longchenpa says another one is, when you're sick, plant seeds. When you're sick, you form habits, positive actions. That's another way. I think the positive actions means the best we are influencing this world is habits. Habits really influence our world. I think people develop good habits. Like how do you treat others, how do you every day. I think therefore the good habits are really important, and some people do that, especially meditators, practitioners, they have that perspective. But even you are not, but you can learn how forming new habits. When you're sick, not always think about your sickness. How do you can I give, again, like can, form or develop good habits? I think that is then thinking your sickness or thinking fear and unhappiness. Instead that you thinking how do I develop good habits? And that's Longchenpa says that's really also take sickness on to path to enlightenment. Yeah, into path to enlightenment. And then he says another one. He said this is very important. It's very very. When you're sick, like when you're sick, what is really happened is purify. First he says when you're sick, exhaust negative karma in the past. Yeah. Usually this everybody says, when you're sick, negative karma means something negative things we done in the past, exhausted. That's really another, it's not, we think that way, oh, I'm sick, this is not just only useless. Because when I sick, I pacify all anything negative karmas I did past 20 to 30 years, or even a past life. I just think I finished. I have that, like, I think you have that kind of attitude helps also that. You need to have that kind of attitude. It says, purifies negative emotions, actions present, right now, when you have sick, the negative emotions, it purifies. The negative emotions are no longer strong when you are sick. Therefore, you can purify negative emotions. That's a little Longchenpa's another way. So how do you say, that's really our, he's like that. And then he says another way to path to attain enlightenment, he says, and when you're sick, you have not obsessed with your body and possessions. Yeah. You don't have much obsession, like too much, like, oh, my body is special, like possessions or other people's body and possessions. You decrease obsession, and also you decrease your negative emotions, like anger. Anger is not active, I think, other people, because you don't have time to angry because people are sick, and also attachment. And the other thing is a resentment and or judgment. Everything start become more decreased. That's really are the you looking, and you looking. It's not like totally bad. When I sick, think there's there's of course sickness is not good, but you can see their qualities. What's the qualities is decrease your negative emotions. And no one has time to have all these negative emotions, expressed. They don't have time to. But sometimes people, like I think angry, when they're sick. But that means, I think this person is, I think bring all the focus on the wrong side. Therefore, I think you need to know when you're pain, you need to know other people's pain too. When you're angry, that means when you're sick, you're angry, that means someone also means how much you pain. Then you angry other people, they also pain. When you're angry, when you're sick, and then it's hard to deal with that. And then other people cannot say anything because you're sick, and same time, no one can help. It's a very hard time. Therefore, I think when you're sick, and I think you need more positive, you need love and compassion, you need to calm down. It's very important. You need to calm down, how to help yourself first, and then how to, give other people comfort. I think that also, you know, some people have that kind of ability. I think that's the right ability is. Longchenpa that's really are another way to, you know, like decrease the negative emotions. If your negative emotions increase, and then how do you manage that? And then manage everything's impermanent, transitory, or like compassion things. You need to reduce that the negative emotions. And then he says, the another says, if you, when you're sick and against rise your devotion, admiration. Someone's like Dzogchen practitioner, let's say. Someone's a Dzogchen practitioner. For example, this give example, Dzogchen practitioner or meditation practitioner. Here she's sick. And then when she is sick, then what Longchenpa says, and this previously meditators they did, gives rise to devotion, admiration, appreciation. That are easy. When you're sick, that's more easy, there says Longchenpa. Because you're not, ego is not active. The reason is ego is not active. And then, you know, I think you know that when your mind is a little bit more vulnerable, and then a little bit easy to appreciate. Yeah, that's really, I think, you know, mind is, you know, like so confident, so really, I'm special, and it's really hard to, you know, express, you know, gratitude, admiration. But when you're sick, you're a little bit, we are vulnerable situation, yeah? When you're vulnerable situation, you know, it's easy to get rise to devotion, admiration. It says, when you have devotion, admiration, the result is receiving blessings and a dawn realization. Means you receive enlightened blessing, and also maybe you are realized nature mind. And that really occurs sometimes. Therefore, that means sickness, part two to intake, part two in enlightenment. When you're sick, guys raise devotion, admiration, a result that you really see enlightened blessing, and maybe you're down, realize it, maybe you realize nature mind. All these things occur. You know, you are the right practice. Like this talk about, especially like Dzogchen practitioner. Dzogchen practitioner can't have that kind. And then I think, yeah, all these things are very, very, you know, this is the right perspective. Means you really, really, this way means you carrying sickness really path to enlightenment. You're not wasting your sickness, you know. Many years, you're not really suffer your sickness. You don't have to suffer when you take, you don't have time to suffer when you take sickness to a path to enlightenment, because that's it. I think down below there's, you know, Dzogchen perspective, Dzogchen view perspective. How do you, you know, sickness path to enlightenment? That's more, you know, like it's a very extraordinary teaching Longchenpa talk about. Here, just, you know, like beginning he's talk about. He says, and Longchenpa says, when you are sick, you know other people, you need know other people suffering. You really know other people suffering. Says, I'm very sick, but there are many people like me. There's so many people are sick. You know, like their pain, many different ways. And then really, I then says, I wish everyone's sickness is, you know, like disappear. And then people have that. I wish everyone's sickness. And that really are then create bodhicitta. This is create bodhicitta. And also there's Tonglen. Tonglen means receive, you know, exchanging your happiness, other people are suffering. When you're sick, there's a meditation called Tonglen, means when you're sick on any time, you take another people's, oh, I'm sick right now, but I wish all beings, so many beings throughout this universe, so many beings are sick. Therefore, I wish they all pain and suffering I can take. You know, this moment, they all beings, many people in this world, they're free of sickness. I can take their sickness. I can feel that sickness. Then everyone world is become free of sickness. They call that tonglen, or that's some exchanging. There are many different ways, but tonglen means you exchange your happiness to their suffering. Therefore, and that really means, and the sickness remind you bodhicitta, he says. Reminds bodhicitta. And that really means another way to sickness is, like remind you bodhi. And then all beings, I'm very sick, but sickness is very difficult. I wish all beings are free from suffering, reaching enlightenment. Sickness is very difficult. Suffering is very difficult. There's so many beings, many they have headaches, injuries, all terminal illnesses. There are so many beings go through so many different ways. I wish all beings free from sickness, reach enlightenment. You have that kind of attitude first, and that is called bodhicitta. And then it says, when you're sick, and you reminds you of bodhicitta, Longchenpa says. That's really all. And then Longchenpa goes very higher level meditations. Longchenpa is like higher mile. This is Longchenpa's talking about these 4 lines. He's talking about visualization meditation. How do someone sick doing visual meditation, take a path to enlightenment, take path to visualization meditation when you're sick. He says, this is when it's a vivid, it's a vividness, it's enlightened body. When you vividness of that sickness is called enlightened body. He says, its pain is the sound of mantra. When you pain very sharp, that sound of mantra. The perception of sickness is pristine awareness, enlightened mind. Just stay with that, this is. That's called visualization aspect in meditation. When you're sick and you think, oh, this vividness, sickness is enlightened body, like you saw visualization, Vajrasattva, or Guru Rinpoche, or anything. Vividness, sickness is, like that do Tibetan. We are doing many people pain, they do that, meditation. Oh, vividness, sickness is enlightened body. And pain, is mantra. Meditating that way. And perception of that sickness is enlightened mind. And just stay with that. And that really are the visualization meditation. And people do that practice. And this is a little bit more go to the Dzogchen. These things are like many practitioners, they do. Especially if someone really knows Dzogchen, that's really the highest that, like sometimes they says I heard many practitioners says, when you are really sick and in Dzogchen meditators, then sometimes they don't feel pain, the high level realizations. That's really I hear many stories there and throughout Tibet in many years. And therefore, sometimes they forgot, sometimes tell, like lamas and masters, when they're sick, and then ask students, please don't remind the person, the lama is sick. And sometimes, this is, if you don't, they totally, pure awareness state, they don't remember, and then you reminds you that, then they come back. They says, please don't remind. And then they don't say anything like that. Therefore, and just totally, and I think Dzogchen is the best way. Sickness is Longchenpa, but all these things, he says, when you're sick, remain in pristine awareness, not thought, not emotion, not uncomfortable mental events, just remain in pristine awareness 24 hours. That's best meditation. That's best meditation, although that's best medicine. And I think many, I think Dzogchen practitioners, they have this kind throughout history. And that they do is their pain, they just remain in pure awareness. Pure awareness, there's no, it's a really, I think mentally totally helps, but even physically, I think helps. And depend you're a high level practitioner, you really high level practitioner, and very help, but even a low level practitioner helps, but always degrees, depend on how your realization is. Your realization meditation is high, that level helps, but your realization meditation is low, that level always depend, not always like all or nothing situation. It's always degrees. Here the Dzogchen will talk about the how do you sickness path to carry path to enlightenment. Longchenpa says, when you are sick, look directly at your own mind. Yeah. No, like, oh, I don't know, I'm sick, can't believe this is. Don't do that. Don't do that, it says. When you say, me, I can't believe this is so hard, don't do that, Longchenpa says. Just directly look directly into your mind. He says, essence, openness, the nature is radiant. You vividly where all things appear. And then sickness points out the three aspect enlightenment. I think this means when you're sick and just look directly your nature mind, it's free from all distortions. It's free from all extremes. It's totally pure, pristine. Just remaining with that. Just holding there. Just sit there. That's called stonehold, how like. And then just stay with that. Don't give energy mental events. I can't believe myself, sadness, don't give them energy. Just give energy more pristine awareness, Longchenpa says. That really means sickness path to enlightenment. Path to enlightenment. Yeah, many things are here talking about so many beautiful things, but I think all these things, and he says, Longchenpa says, you perceive all sorts of experience. Sickness is baseless. Baseless means like there's no base. I think practitioners, or they do that, means when people, anytime you can do that, but particularly when you're sick and the sources of your pain, and the meditators, they see there's baseless. Where they come from? Body or mind? The awareness, the mind is totally baseless, non-existent. I perceive that way. Whatever you look in, it disappears entirely without trace. Anything you do with the thoughts, emotion, pain, everything you look without trace when you look directly. And I think especially this, someone's really have the Dzogchen realization. These things are very, very easy to do, that practitioner. And therefore, I think you order handle all these things path to enlightenment. You have the, Dzogchen introduction, you go first. Once you have the Dzogchen deduction, and then easy to apply all these things. Sooner or later, everyone's sick, and then people die. That's really inevitable. It happens for everyone. Therefore, we prepare all this way. we are met difficult, we are, have dignity. I think that's really are the, especially these practices, Dzogchen Chimbo's teaching here, Longchenpa's Dzogchen master. And that's really are the very beautiful things here. And then I don't want to go more, like my words. I think therefore, I finished this here. And Longchenpa Ramjamba says, he says, when you're sick, we are not sick, please, he says, when you are not sick, you are trained practice. You need training and practice. When you are sick, bring into path to meditation. He says like that. And then like that, he says, I'm the Hongchen Ramjam, I'm the great Hongchen Ramjam, my practice is Dzogpa Chimbo, something like that. And then he just ends this text. And therefore, I want to stop here to, this teaching and Ken's reading about this text. And I have fortunate to, translate this maybe 2-3 months ago with Maura. We did this translation, I think very beautifully translated. It's beautiful. And then I think Ken's reading, therefore now Ken, you should read Longchenpa's wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Bringing all conditions and experience, including sickness, into the path to enlightenment. Namo Guru Bya. At a time when Longchenpa was sick, people brought him medicine, doctors, and advice. Longchenpa sang in response about bringing all conditions, including sickness, into the path. Always abiding in happiness and bliss, you complete the path to enlightenment for oneself and for others. I offer deep respect and admiration to the great and sublime Master. Listen once again, all fortunate ones. Sickness will lead you to the spiritual path. This is why I don't have any resentment or preference for my health. You need to apply meditation in both the good times and the bad. Please listen, and I will give you clear instructions. Sickness loosens one's obsession with mundane life. It reminds you of impermanence and death. You realize how much is trivial and unnecessary. Sickness reduces your attachment to the frivolous. It increases your devotion and inspiration towards enlightenment. You realize that only Dharma can help you. You are intensely saddened by samsara and encouraged towards liberation. Sickness reminds you of the path to freedom. It directs you towards the accumulation of wisdom and merit. It plants the seed of generosity. You form a habit of positive actions. Sickness reminds you to do the right thing. It exhausts the negative karma of the past. It purifies the negative emotions and actions of the present. It subdues any potential negativity in the future. Sickness recalls the obscurations to be purified. It reminds you to not give cause to future suffering in any rebirth that may happen. Sickness is the most effective antidote. Sickness makes you appreciate your happiness and well-being. It relaxes the attachment you have to your physical self. It loosens your obsession with your own body or anyone else's. It naturally decreases negative emotions. Sickness reminds you of ultimate liberation. It gives rise to devotion and admiration. The result is to receive blessings and the dawn of realization. It grows one's appreciation for Dharma and the emergence of wisdom. Sickness points one to the excellent path. Remembering the characteristics of sickness, you want a cure for all beings. You focus on your illness as a means to relieve sickness for all. Sickness reminds you of the mindset to attain enlightenment. Its vividness is enlightened body. Its pain is the sound of mantra. The perception of it is the pristine awareness of enlightened mind. Sickness reminds you of the visualization aspect of meditation. It is an experience of skillful means. You perceive the pristine luminosity of great wisdom. Non-dual, unified, and totally pure, sickness reminds you of the accomplishment aspect of meditation. It is the enlightened master. Pain is the chanting of prayers. When you look, it arises freely to a state of blessing. Sickness points you to the extraordinary path. When you are sick, look directly at your own mind. The essence is openness. The nature is radiance. You are vividly aware of all that appears. Sickness points out the three aspects of enlightenment. It brings you into vast awareness. There is no subject or object in the whole entirety of emptiness. Its own presence is boundless evenness in the original nature. Sickness makes clear the ultimate aspect of enlightenment. It is how to find natural awakening and self-confidence. You find naturally abiding meditation. There is no between. Everything is equal, fresh, and vivid. Sickness makes clear the completely perfect aspect of enlightenment. You perceive the source of this experience of sickness as baseless. Wherever you look for it, it disappears entirely without a trace. It is free as soon as it appears, without bias, open and clear. Sickness makes clear the manifest aspect of enlightenment. When you are not ill, you must train and practice. When you are sick, bring it into the path of meditation. Everything that arises is an ornament of pristine awareness. Sickness reminds you of the positive actions and attitudes to choose. It differentiates distortion from clear awareness. It shows the true colors of the elements. Sickness measures the skill of the yogi and yogini. It makes clear what kind of practitioner you are. I am carefree and content. I practice sublime Dzogchen teachings. I know all conditions and experiences will naturally be free in the nature of reality. I am reminded that everything is pristine awareness. May this merit be dedicated to all beings spread throughout the universe. May everyone reach the state of great bliss and completely perfect enlightenment. This was written by the great yogi Nyadzok Rangdrol Longchenpa with all best wishes.
Okay, that's Longchenpa's very special wisdom. Sickness is take path to enlightenment. It's not like just sickness make you confusing or like wandering up samsara, but really sickness, bring into enlightenment. Special this session is very, it's very important. I think it's very helpful for everyone, because not just only few people, for everyone undergo sick, some maybe now and future. Therefore, I think this is very important. And if you have some other people, like people are sick, I think they have some openness. Someone's, meditation practitioner, I think they're open, but even someone any openness, you can, like send the video or like this text, and I think it great benefit for them. I hope that everyone's doing good. And I wish everybody understanding about these teachings, Longchenpa's wisdom. And then thank you, Ken. Any questions, we can have Q&A session now.
Yes, wonderful, Rinpoche. Thank you. We do have some questions. One question is, what types of meditations can be used when you are sick?
I think the best meditation so far, traditionally, a Dzogchen meditation when you're sick. I think that's really are. I think they have the tradition, and I was mentioning, like people know how to, sometimes say Rigpa, stay in Rigpa. That's, Dzogchen term. Also, you say you can stay in pristine mind or pristine awareness. I think, and that's really the best way to do it. And I think then, it's you're not ordinary state, because once you're there, hopes, fears don't occur that. And hopes, fears, only, disappointment don't occur. Then, I think there's not much you can do physically, and think you are much to do mentally, emotionally, you're much better prepared. And I think, and also, like sometimes, feel compassion, sometimes see the big picture, big picture means everything's, like you have body, that means body has many vulnerable sides. One is sickness. And one way not everybody's sick, this is not like to, like reject why I'm sick, but just more accepting, the more peaceful that way. I think that's really the right perspective, and the best perspective, stay nature mind or pure awareness. That's the best way to, I think, sick, and the best way to handle the sickness.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rinpoche. Related to that, Rinpoche, someone has a question about if you are have a chronic illness and maybe you're taking prescription drugs, or you have some kind of treatment that creates brain fog. We call that something where your brain is altered, and how do you meditate then? Do you have some advice, something very simple to do to help?
It's depends. Meditating is a little bit, you don't need meditating. I think it depends what kind of meditation you do exactly. I think it's the effort. The meditation is so much effort, it's harder to do. I think you need a little bit more effortless meditation. I think their practitioner, I think they a little bit need to do like like effortless meditation. I say in a stay present moment awareness. That's really not much effort. I think that kind, formless meditation. Formless meditation means like not focusing external conditions. I think they need familiar, that helps. Familiar, formless meditation. I think Dzogchen Mahamudra or like that kind of meditation really helps, because not much effort. But these things you need to do, you need to have need more familiar the teachings.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Rinpoche. Thank you, Rinpoche, for this teaching. Can you give any advice about how to work with fear when the body is failing and the fear overpowers your mind?
I think the body is failing. We have many, thoughts, hesitations, emotions come up. I think that's natural. Everybody's there's, you like that. I think that's really our time is most important time, is not give that energy, like, I'm feeling that thought, of course, thought, that kind of thought give more energy and more frightening, more brings fear. I think the most important is when you have like that and just stay with the present moment awareness and not follow past, do not follow past. Do not anticipate in future. Stay present moment. Leave your mind alone. And that's very important. Then that, first you have that, but slowly, you become used to. And I think first moment I'm feeling then a little bit pain, you can handle slowly. People, when they're used to, then they have, can handle. The other thing is the nature, reality is, once in everyone's body's failing, falling parts, that's inevitable. There's nothing we can do one way. And just resentment, fear don't work. Therefore, more accept the situation is much more easier, because like everyone to born and then live and then detail, they die. That's a reality. Like trees, highways, even the buildings, even in the whole entire world burn out down someday. And this is reality. I think knowing the big picture also helps like that. It's really, it's not only one person do that. Everyone, someday everyone need to go that same direction. And knowing that also helpful.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rinpoche. Thank you for this teaching. Is all sickness and chronic illness a result of exhausting past karma, or can it just be some random causeless experience?
Yeah, and they're saying, the person, not a past karma means, it's many, it means anything contribution that is called karma. It's not like just only mysterious. Sometimes it's mysterious, sometimes it's obvious. If someone smokes so many years, and that's called bad karma, and then later they're have lung is not really perfect, that's called that obvious karma. Is like, oh yeah, you eat this, and it says you eat lots of sugar, and then you have blood pressure is high, the sugar high, that things are like cause and effect. That's really obvious. Some karma, they call that as karma also. It's not like karma is something's obvious, but some things you don't know. But that's the karma is, the obvious karma and mysterious karma. They're two different things. And then all sickness is not really karma. There's two different things: karma or obstacle to them. Maybe obstacle means temporary occurrence, not necessarily karma. They're two different. They call life shortens. Accident means not necessarily karma. They can maybe accident, maybe karma. They call that. It's not it's not everything's karma.
What is actually involved in purifying past situations? Can you elaborate on that?
I think anything, when you're sick, anything past negative actions you do, and that purifies this. Past negative, any harmful things you do, and when you're sick, pain that purifies in past negative actions you did. That's called that. It's called purify anything negative actions. Right now you're sick, and that's really like negative actions we do, and that purifies. And they, like that's really they call karma, and that's called this Longchenpa talk about that relationship, cause and effect. Exhaust any negative emotions, any negative actions you pass down, and it purifies.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rinpoche. There are many questions around physical pain, Rinpoche, and so what is the best way to support a meditation practice if you can't maybe sit in a regular meditation posture? What's some advice there?
Yeah, I think there are two different ones, but someone is very beginning that they need to have posture. Someone is very familiar, they don't need postures, and someone is really familiar, they need postures. Postures just beginner, like that. That's one thing, that's general thing. But especially when you're sick, I think you can, any position you can meditate in, and I think meditating means like when you're lying down, you can And then when you're lying down, when you're staying chair, or the meditation means your mind at the right place. Your mind at the right place. That's really count meditation. You can breathe in exercise, you can do that, also focus something. Even you say, I'm here, like, you sit on a couch, you see their flower, or like some statue, you focus, that is meditation. It's not thinking some, ordinary stuff, something make you sad or angry like that. And that's also meditation. But like a little bit more like Dzogchen style meditation, that's best meditation, because all counts is when you lie down or like stand in a chair, your mind is no longer pure, you're no longer lost past or future or any, like anxiety, fear, direction, but your mind is present. I think that's really meditation is. Mind to be present, not lost into mental events or external conditions. That's really meditation. And then any posture you can, doesn't matter posture is, once you do that.
Thank you, Rinpoche. What's some advice about how to work with a person who loses their mind through awareness due, let's say, to old age or a stroke or Alzheimer's disease, when that person literally has, their mind isn't here? How can you help that person? How can you work with that person?
Yeah, I think, the person is meditated, you can remind. You can remind. The person not meditated is very hard to, the person is custom, have habit meditation, and then you can remind them. It's, you need to stay, you meditating now, you should meditating. Okay, I'm doing it. And then just stay present moment and stay with Rigpa, stay with pure awareness, or you can say that. But people are not, I think meditation then is, I don't know how to deal in someone's really that stage. I think you can teach them meditation new, but really, I think be present. Anybody you can say be present. Like you need to bring here. I think give some, give, or like anything they, just flower or like something make they present. You show something image or like or play some music. Listen this. And they give them, bring them present moment. Some conditions like the music or like beautiful image. I think it can help that maybe.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rinpoche. Can you explain a little more about the visualization aspect?
I think visualization aspect is when this contact, like when I think when you visualization, let's say Vajrasattva, I think you visualize, you are familiar with that, visualization, Vajrasattva. I think the visualization, Vajrasattva, the practice is what really are. This is the vividness, when you vividness about enlightenment, you vividness Vajrasattvas yourself, Buddha Vajrasattvas. That's called enlightened body. The pain is mantra, when your pain is mantra, but your that's called sound is mantra. Then your awareness is enlightened mind. You think your awareness is enlightened mind. And enlightened mind, Vajrasattva. All these three things, body, speech, and mind, is your visualization, enlightened body, speech, mind. They call visualization a practice, meditation.
What is peace to pristine mind?
Peace means peaceful. Peace.
Right, exactly. Like, what is there a relation? What is it to pristine mind?
Yeah, peace is, like when your mind is pristine, there's natural quality, there's peace. It's, like when the sun means there's radiance, yeah. When your mind is pristine means peace, tranquility, vibrancy, bliss, everything's present, that quality. That's quality of the pristine awareness. There's tranquility, pristine, vividness, vibrancy, fresh, immaculate, and bliss, energetic, healthy, all these things, presence of pristine mind. Naturally, they are.
Thank you, Rinpoche, for this wonderful teaching. Please, can you explain a little bit more about Tonglen? For me, it is natural to wish every sentient being be free from suffering, but when I think about taking all that suffering, I kind of fear about causing something wrong with me.
Yeah, Tonglen is depend about the more you have bodhicitta, you're more able to have Tonglen. But regular people are not capable to Tonglen. But Tonglen is action of bodhicitta. The higher your bodhicitta, the more you are capable doing Tonglen. Tong means give your happiness to others. Len means you take other people's suffering. And when you breathe in out, your happiness dissolve in other people's, give them happiness. Every happiness performance you have give them. And then when you breathe in, you take in other people's suffering. You receive their suffering. And that's really the high level bodhisattva's practice. And that really means the more you have deepening your bodhicitta, the more you have the ability to do that. Therefore, the bodhicitta is not ordinary people, they do that, but they don't have much, totally not confidence. But the high level bodhisattvas are confidence that.
Shay, you often talk about your affinity for Dzogchen practice. So aside from Nundro, what sorts of meditation should one be good at in order to gain great results from Dzogchen? For example, some Dzogchen teachers say that Dzogchen will have best results for those who are good at Sheyane practices. Yeah. And are there specific practices you recommend becoming skilled at?
Yeah, Shigni and Shamatha is very important. When you are Shamatha, then your Dzogchen, when nature mind is very stable. And when Shamatha is not, meditation is not, the nature mind is like unstable. Therefore, I think because I'm teaching Longchenpa, But the reason is I'm saying these things I'm teaching this as Longchenpa. When Longchenpa teaching, then he's go to Dzogchen. And that means I need to do the same thing. Otherwise, I'm not teaching Longchenpa. Since we have this coronavirus, I taught many Longchenpa teachings. I love, that's my favorite. But then I wanted to teach Longchenpa, the consequences, he always go to Dzogchen. And then I need to do the same thing. Therefore, I think Ngondo and Shamatha, and I think Shigani is very important. And then Dzogchen, and Dzogchen teachings like Ishe Lama or like 3 words of God of those. These things are really introduced up Dzogchen, teachings. I think that's the most powerful teaching of this, this century is Dzogchen is the extraordinary teaching, humanity existent, That's really, I think people should enjoy that teachings. I think we have more experience, maybe future. That's really the big hopes humanity of, humanity is right now is, like how to solve problems and gain happiness. Enlightenment is, Dzogchen is a gift for humanity from Buddha Samantabhata, Ongoro Rinpoche Pamma Sambhava.
Wonderful, Rinpoche. Can you please give us reading transmission of the Tibetan text?
Okay, I can do that. Gabding on la terre de Géron, Jenton, Nizarbeon, Somela, Mijala, Neon, Chizono, Katanga, Chuji Kutin, Munga Holland, Dala, de Nyam de Calago, Jola Sendo Shakin, Nava Sindi Jemba, Marton Chivajis, Jongume, Jelaji, Nava Jela Sendation. Na vi da dong in jong ji jong me churon ran yong ning jong chi na wa tan la mo san de na wa chong ni ker jin she dong po jin bi sang de ka wi la wa chong zhe na wa gi san de yu na wa ngon ji le ngan za ta li dong nyong mo jo Shimili Nango Numbi, Nava Division Sunday, Navi Shimi Anson, the Kinim Yonjan the Tambi, Nyembo non Ilana mi, Nava Sun de la Sunday, Navi Pombo Jemba, Ronjan Lila Chababo, Chodon Yumorongo, Nava Angela Sunday, Navi Donsemu, Gijin Shalom Jijon Tobaki, Chumo Lobby Sheriff, Nava Lamson Sunday, Navi Yondan Dajin, Sam Jangani Napsa. Ronyin Ramu be Nava Sinching Sunday, Nava, Nawa, Manga, Zingo Jubanga Gison, T. Riton Kimiti, Nava Kier, on Sunday, Nava on Satamchala. Tabishan of Shansing on Nimizon number, Nava Kier, on Sunday, Nava Laminam Jola, Zingo Sunday Jubi, on TB Shatushan Lapton, Nava Lams on Sunday, Navi Salasim to being or Tom Baron, Jean Sat. Charter Manga Chayon Cha, Nava Kason Sandan, Nava Rigbion, Labjon Tobian, Tombian on Romer Sham, Domer Sham Dali, Nava Churko Sandan, Naviron Don Tobiron, Santan Sharme, Premiership Partisan, Nava Lonki Sandan, Nav in charge, chapter, and Tom Tobiron, Sir. Royal Jimengon, Chateaurim, Tonsong, Nava, Turkil Sandan, Manavala Sajon, Navitis Bon. Tamchirik Bijanders navigate Johnson Davis and Navarik Beton News in Nava, I'm John Viron, Doctor Navidon Jotonland, Nava Shamjit. Sandemium Naron Koyon Love the and Tamjis of Bachimber, Rondo, Chunerondo, and Tamjirik Besan. Give him Canyon Doak and Tam Chef Shonchum Chato show. Okay, that's it. That's Longchenpa's Vajra song. It's very beautiful. And maybe you can do someday. There's Longchenpa's another text called How to Free Unhappiness, a Vajra song about that's also according to Dzogchen, and free from unhappiness and future maybe sometime. Whether do retreat or like I think also teaching maybe that's good for unhappiness and or like unhappiness means stress, anxiety, fear, or like agitation, like all these things. Therefore, that's another text. Two texts I translate.
Wonderful. There were so many great questions. We couldn't get to all of them, but thank you all for the great questions. And Rinpoche, thank you so much for your helpful, wonderful answers and great appreciation for your time today, Rinpoche.
Okay, I hope everyone's doing well and hope everyone has a wish to and understanding wisdom of Longchen Jamba, and then everyone has free from all unhappiness, sickness, and like agitations, and again, receive and experience happiness, bliss, and enlightenment during this lifetime. And then thank you very much, and then see you next time. Thank you.